Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd like to welcome here Elona Lopari, who is the CEO of the Life School and a speaker and an author. So we're going to have a great conversation, get to know her. Elona, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So, as you mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Life School, where we help purpose-driven entrepreneurs and CEOs align their purpose with profits and scale that so they can do more good in the world. The speaking side is really around my passion and sharing what I know with my audience of entrepreneurs and CEOs. A little bit, background. Before I became an entrepreneur, I was a corporate CEO, climbed all the way to the C-suite in the retail industry in a Fortune 500 company for 13 years until I realized I was no longer happy there, and the company turned into a very profit-driven culture. That was a catalyst for me to look for other ways or something, a new channel for me to take all my experience and my passion and kind of be in service towards others. I've always been somebody that loves service and contribution and growth. So with those in mind, I started, my entrepreneurship journey focusing on helping entrepreneurs with kind of the two strong skills that I was also very entrepreneurial within my company, which was business acumen, business growth, and leadership. So I've been able to take that and be able to now grow my own company, which is purpose-driven, where I focus more on the personal values, the vision and the mission, and then aligning that with some of the business metrics, the profit side, which is important, obviously, to grow a healthy and sustainable business as well. Through the school, that's the name of my company, which really stemmed from my experience, personal and professional, all the people I've supported throughout the years, where entrepreneurship is just like school. Every day you're a student, you're learning, you're growing, and the more you learn and you grow, the more you're able to contribute towards others. So what we do inside the school, we offer fractional services, so private, done for you. And also I have a community of entrepreneurs and CEOs where we match people to speaking opportunities where they can go and actually, reach their audiences and increase their visibility, but also build their thought leadership. And then we have passive products around business scaling for people who just like to consume courses.
Ooh, what other companies do these people that help you out come from?
So my client is service-based entrepreneurs and CEOs. So that is who my client is. But of course, now I've grown a team. So we have my team that supports with the different functions of the business at this point. But the people that come are usually within 0 to 10 million in revenue, and they're looking to scale their companies. So that's the bracket of revenue, but also they're in the service industry because that's the industry I love to specialize in. Because the challenge of also growing a service-based company, which is a little bit more challenging than when you have a product-based company.
Tell me about your book.
Yeah, my latest one is called Visionary Purpose-Driven Leadership. And in there, I talk about the 7 pillars to being a purpose-driven leader that is really leaving a legacy and is more conscious in the way that they're leading their company so that they're also doing more good in the world. So that's my latest one. And then my other couple of books are, the other one is Purpose-Driven Entrepreneurship, where I put together my process of how I help companies grow, which is all about their branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team, and then inner alignment with their vision, mission, and values. And then my first book is Connected the Dots Backwards. It's more like a memoir of my personal experience and professional experience and what I learned and what catalyzed me to entrepreneurship, and how I really believe that being a conscious person and connecting your experience is really important for the vision that you're building for your personal life and professional life in the future as well. And yeah, I also have a journal I have put together, but also time management planner, because time management is always a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, planning and focusing on the right priorities to drive their business success.
You teach people to get to know their customers a little bit better? Because sometimes it seems like companies forget that.
It's all about that. It's all about who you're serving. So knowing your customer, I always have a saying, I say, know thy customer better than you know thyself, which I don't think it's really possible because you always project the things that you know about yourself because you're not going to know what to look at if you haven't had that clarity on your own. So I do lots of that as well with my companies that I support within the school. But yes, it's all about understanding where your customer is, and you're the guide, and what is the problem they're experiencing, and where they're coming from, and all of that. It does help if you are your own avatar that you're supporting, because you've been through that journey and you could talk to that customer. But that does not necessarily have to be the case. You can just have a service or product. I focus on services, a service that you really feel like could add value to somebody else, and you don't necessarily have to be your own avatar.
I notice sometimes companies will do certain things to be a little more efficient. I guess they feel like they're saving money, but at the same time, it's almost as if they're forgetting who the customers are and what kind of service they want. Don't you think it's worth it to maybe spend that little bit extra just to get the people in the door?
Yeah, I think it's usually companies, and what I've seen in my experience is that are short-sighted. They make decisions, for tomorrow and not for the length and the health of the brand or the business. Because every decision can hurt your brand, your reputation, your referrals, right? Can also obviously hurt the person that's investing with you, that's not really getting the results or the service delivery aspect of what you promised them. So I think, yeah, it's more decision makers that are making a decision now, just to survive or just to get over something or whatever. But if you really know what your values are and what you stand for, which is why I talk about a lot of the foundational things in business are about values, because when you have those values that maybe I don't do this or that, even in the day where it's going to be hard and you really need to make a different decision, you're going to stay with that because you have the longevity of why you're doing in mind, and it's part of your identity, because we rarely go against our identity when we make decisions. And if your value is integrity and support and service and all of that, then you're always going to look out for the best interest of your client, and not going to get involved into things that are going to really jeopardize that. But I think it's really back to vision and misalignment of their values.
Now, this may or may not be up your alley, but when like we go to the store, like a Walmart or the grocery store or whatever, they have these self-checkout things. Me, I would rather spend a couple of extra minutes in line to talk with a human being and not, deal with the machine and do it myself. And I hear a lot of other people complain about that too. It's like, hey, if I got to do all this myself, then you might as well pay me for working here.
For
Where,
working.
right?
Yeah. I think it's a challenge, right? Because you do want to adapt to, where the world is going in technology, but is that really going to hurt the service aspect of your clients? I think it's back to making decisions based on your clients' needs, and understanding how to talk to your clients, to your customers, right? See where they come from, and then try to make those conscious decisions from there. But I think there's certain things that I don't know if we can put a stop to, because even if maybe a certain company wants to keep things, that way, maybe where the market is or competition is going into a different direction. So there's tons of factors to consider. But if you can talk to your people and make a decision that aligns with them as well, I mean, it's always the best route to go with, because at the end of the day, I always say that your customers vote with their wallets, right? So you're always running a campaign, and you need to understand them really well.
Yeah. Have you ever run across that client who's just so hard-headed that they don't feel like they need to change those kind of things?
I mean, not so much in my space, because the people that come obviously are open to growth and they've been struggling with certain something, so they're open to new things, right? Because obviously, if they stay in the same thing, they're going to continue to get the same result. And usually, people that invest in something are more open than other people to want to do something. So I don't find that. But I mean, if somebody is stubborn into kind of, in their thing, then I say that maybe they don't want that result bad enough, or maybe they don't have a problem that they want to really fix, and they don't have an urgency to fix it. So, just be there for them. And when they're ready, they will, they will make that decision for themselves. That's all you could do.
So the company that you came from, what was probably the biggest problem you had with them?
Lots of the culture was pretty much the positions were being eliminated, and there was lots more work for people to do, lower pay, and I didn't really see a future or where things were going because of the way that the decisions were made purely based on profits rather than taking care of the people that were working within the company. And I've always been somebody that always wanted to learn and grow. And if I didn't see a future, to me, it's not even worth hanging in there because to me, I'm always looking forward to like what is it that I can do and grow and contribute. So I didn't see that anymore. So that was my clue to figure out what else I needed to do. And yeah, those were some of the main pain points that were being considered when I made the decision to leave and start my own company.
It certainly run across those companies that, besides not listening to the customer, they're not listening to the people that are on the ground actually working. Which I mean, I worked for the city, but I did notice that some of the higher ups, they were like, well, I made this position. I know what I'm talking about. They don't want to listen to the people that are actually doing the work. And that's where we'd fall short sometimes.
That's a big falling short because I find that the bigger the companies go, the more challenging this is because they lose touch. Like whoever's making decisions loses touch with the everyday operations, people on the ground, the clients, the service, the employees. So I think it's really important to figure out ways to be able to include everybody in your decision making or even have certain things that you structure within your company to ensure that your people are heard and they're seen. Because a lot of the times you can make a decision out of a vacuum. You just think that that's kind of what it is. And you're going to make the wrong decision because that's not necessarily a reality out there in the operations. So, yeah, it becomes more challenging, but I think if you structure things out intentionally, then you can still keep an eye on your operations because that's really what it is at the end of the day.
When you instruct your clients, is it in person? Is it online, or do you do both?
I do both. Mainly it's virtual because that doesn't limit me based on their physical locations or where their companies are founded. But I also have lots of live clients that I meet in person because I also enjoy the human live interaction. And we could get more productive and I can go visit their companies and their teams and all of that. So it becomes, you know, I can add more insight to that as well. But of course, because I have a certain methodology, then they can implement that, within their teams and companies virtually as well.
So this is one-on-one with the company, not several people getting together from different companies listening to the same thing, right?
Well, unless I'm doing a workshop and I go to an event where there's different companies there with their teams and it's a different setup. But if they're just my client, then I'm usually strictly always working with the founder and the CEO
Mhm.
and their leadership team a lot of times too.
Do you do TED Talks?
I am in the process of doing a TED Talk. Yes.
Oh, cool. But most of your speaking is at these companies and functions.
Yeah, different events that have entrepreneurs and businesses as part of the attendees. So, yeah, summits, conferences, virtual events, roundtables. Those are usually the spaces that I go, or I facilitate workshops, trainings, things like that.
Whenever you do these, is it like you have a set charge that you charge, or is it different and vary from company to company?
Oh no, my process and the way I work is set investments for companies. But if, depending on their budgets, if they bring me on as a facilitator, speaker, moderator, then I will consider that when I negotiate something. So that's how I usually handle it.
So if Disney came to you and said, "We want you to come work for us," would you do that, or you say, "No, you're going to stick and do what you're doing"?
No, I've had a lot of offers like that where because people see the value, they want to bring me on as an employee. And no, because I run my company. So I'm only there for fractional services. And obviously, I have companies renewing. I have companies I work with 3 years, 4 years, but it's still under part-time basis and fractional services in that container. Because otherwise, I would just not have time to run my own company. So.
And what is your website?
It's elonalaparicoaching.com.
And social media?
Elona Lapari or the Life School. It's everywhere on all the platforms.
Elona, thank you so much for this. I hope that you get some business out of this.
Yeah, and I hope that this was helpful to the listeners. Yeah, I mean, just like anything, I think because today's environment is so different, and when you operate a business, I think lots of companies are waking up and understanding that it's important to listen to their customers and their teams. So we're heading in the right direction, just more patience. Not everybody's always usually on the wagon at the same time, but I'm very hopeful for where we're going. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful for your listeners as well. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I will put your links in the description to make it easier for folks to find you. But again, thank you. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button from our regulars. You guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network